Pokémon is a huge franchise. So much so that it's become one of Nintendo's biggest cash cows, with each new release selling millions of copies. The appeal seems to be almost as broad as the number of Pokémon there are, which is why you get a complex metagame that evolves with each coming generation of games. Because of all this, it's easy to forget that Pokémon is very much a children's game, if not better or more mature in some ways. In fact, since Pokémon is a children's game, it is free to explore themes which would be out of place in other games. One of these themes, and one of the more important themes of the series, is growing up, or evolution if you prefer, which is especially prevalent for the first generation of the series. Evolution shows up in a variety of ways, and not just in the obvious ways you're thinking of. Pokémon is highly segmented in order to make each section feel like a distinct moment of growth. It's essentially a series of checkpoints to test whether the player understands the game's mechanics before letting them experiment with them. Viridian Forest may teach you the value of Antidote, but the battle with Brock is the player's first taste of real challenge and type awareness. Mount Moon and Nugget Bridge give you your first hints that something wrong may be happening with the appearance of Team Rocket, but it isn't until later that you see these plot threads fully realized. Blue gets new sprites over the course of the game, each more mature than the last, to show his growth as a trainer. Not all of these roadblocks are enjoyable, and in fact Rock Tunnel is actively painful, but even it serves an important role as a turning point between Tutorialsville and the real meat of the game. It's after the tunnel that the player is given the choice of what path they'd like to take, a currently unsolvable mystery in Lavender Town, and many of the game's best and most complex areas. Areas like Celadon City, which is a period of rapid growth for the player. It's the largest city they've been to by far, and it features a huge department store to quickly empty the spare change that's been building up for something like 50 trainer battles. In a not-so-subtle move, the game developers directly give the player the only Eevee here, a unique Pokemon that can evolve into one of 3 forms, trusting the player to make the decision that's right for them, with no takebacks or second chances. The gym battle this time is easy, even for Charmeleon, who's been lagging behind the other 2 starter Pokemon the whole game. It's easy to waste your entire wallet on the game corner, but we trust you to be responsible with your money. You've matured from that little kid catching rats and caterpillars. Weird though, something does seem kinda off about that place. Isn't gambling illegal in Japan? How's this place still running? The people in town don't seem to like it very much. Does that sign say Rocket Game Corner? Don't touch the poster, huh? Yeah, what if I... Oh. This is the Rocket Hideout of Twitch Plays Pokemon Infamy, and it's the first time things get real. You, a prepubescent child, are immediately thrown in against a mafia equivalent that obviously has quite a bit of political leverage. The game forces you to go out of your way and explore around even to find it, and then it tells you to man up and beat up the mafia while you're at it. Pokemon doesn't really have dungeons, but this is probably the closest it ever comes, just in how dramatically it shifts in tone. It's got multiple floors and has this sleazy, uncomfortable atmosphere, filled with checkerboard carpeting and more fake plants that you can shake a Pokewalker at. It's loaded top to bottom with those mysterious guys in black from earlier, who you've only met a handful of times before. The music is completely different from anything you've heard before, and is the best song in the original game if you ask me, making dramatic dips between intense action and near silence, while other songs play it more safe. And of course, we can't forget everyone's favorite puzzle. The spin tiles. Oh God, the spin tiles. These tiles require a considerable amount of forethought, memorization, and logic, even as an adult. But as a kid, they were an absolute nightmare. Left sends you right and up sends you down. Or was it right sends you up and left sends you down? You could spend an entire hour in these rooms just making sure you got all the goodies. The tiles get a small reprise at Viridian Gym, but otherwise this is the only place in the game where they show up. That speaks volumes to Rocket Hideout's lasting impact, I feel. It's the first real puzzle of the game, unless you count Lieutenant Surge's magic trash cans. The first time where the player can't just muscle their way through. It shows them the importance of thinking ahead and remembering their actions, which would come up again in Silphco's Teleporter Maze and the strength puzzles of Seafoam Islands and Victory Road. It teaches a child how to be patient and think ahead to succeed. And then throw your giant poison rabbit monster at people until one of them drops the lift key. Of course, no mafia is complete without its Don, and Giovanni fits that role to a T, being as Italian as your mama's tortellini and dressed for business, eh? How you doing? Just look at that confident stare. Although he's probably toying with you to an extent, he's the first character in the game that could kill you without a second thought, if he felt like it. His gang might be a bunch of losers, but Giovanni is the real deal. His first two Pokemon can be dispatched with relatively little fanfare for this point in the game, even if he does throw a giant intimidating rhino at you. But his third is one of the strongest in the game, no matter what version you're playing, and something that you've never seen until this point. In Red and Blue, it's a Kangaskhan, undoubtedly poached from the Safari Zone, and in Yellow, it's Persian, Giovanni's lap cat from the anime, and the evolution of the Meowth you've been seeing all game. It reminds you that even a goofy sidekick like Meowth can evolve into something menacing with the right support. Persian and Kangaskhan are so fast, they'll likely almost always get the first strike, and they know type-boosted bite attacks that are as scary for your Pokemon as they are for you. The best way to beat them is to just stand your ground with a durable Pokemon of your own. If you can last and take it like a man, you'll beat Giovanni and finally get that MacGuffin you need to complete that Lavender Town mystery from a whole town back. Lots of games, especially RPGs, feature dramatic turning points, so Rocket Hideout might not seem so special, but none of them are applied in quite the same context that the Hideout is. Final Fantasy VII's Golden Saucer is a very similar area on the surface, with goofy minigames masking more sinister intentions. In FF7's case, it's literally built on top of a slum, which shows you how well resources are being allocated. Unfortunately, the game makes a bit of a miscalculation by showing you the slum first. When I went through the Golden Saucer, my mind constantly went back to its darker origins, which stood in the way of enjoying it as a happy-go-lucky carnival on its own merits. The Rocket Game Corridor, on the other hand, that's something you can enjoy completely oblivious that you're helping the Mafia with each pull of the lever. Hell, later on in the game, you probably still won't care. It might be the Mafia, but the game told me I gotta catch them all, and that includes Porygon. Sorry, Conscience, I got a quota to fill. Take it up with my agent. Later on, you'll go to the Silphco building, a kind of climax to what Rocket Hideout started, where you finally uproot Team Rocket from within and challenge your rival for the final time before you start heading for the Pokemon League. It's also where you get the Master Ball, the ultimate symbol of your progress as a trainer. But all of it is building off of what Rocket Hideout started, for you as the player and the game's own narrative. That is how you design for evolution.